Only one upset in game ones, but a lot of upsets in game two. So many storylines. This is going to be our most jam-packed show ever. We've got Hawks, Knicks, Sixers, Celtics, Blazers, Spurs, Nuggets, Wolves, Rockets, Lakers, all on today's All-NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllCity. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. Legs, my head's spinning from the last 48 hours of basketball. I cannot believe how we have been blessed with some great basketball games over the last 2 days. How are you doing today?
I'm great, man. Yeah, we were sitting there over the weekend, and you're kind of wondering, like, when is it going to get super interesting? I think it's official to say we're there now, because we now have a lot of situations. You think right now we're sitting at only 2-2-0 series.
Yeah.
Cleveland, which has just really just been dominant against Toronto, and then this Lakers Rockets series, which has obviously had a different start than we expected with the Durant situation in Game 1. They're the only two right now, and OKC has a chance to do that tonight. So does Orlando on the road. But we've got now a lot of 1-1s and some we didn't expect. And so that just means it's more compelling, man. So it's so much more interesting as we wake up here on Wednesday morning than it was going into yesterday.
It's funny because, we enjoy games no matter what. We just like the game. But Monday's show, there was a little sense coming in of like, all right, every game kind of went the way we thought. Like, all right, let's break it down. But not the case. And that's why today's show is jam-packed. You're going to want to stick with us. We'll have timestamps in here if you're catching it late. But you're going to want to stick with us because all of the games have interesting storylines. We're going to start with the Rockets and the Lakers. The Lakers take a 2-0 lead. Kevin Durant back in this one. And he was on fire early. It was like classic Kevin Durant, just hitting the impossible shots. And you think, okay, there it is. This is why, the Rockets were favored coming into this. You have a guy that's going to be able to get a bucket. But that was not the case in the second half. And my big storyline to start, there's a lot of different angles here, but my first storyline is about Kevin Durant. It has been years since it was first a big talking point that if you trap KD up top, he doesn't always make the best decisions, and more important, he doesn't always put the right pressure on the defense when you extend to get the ball in a situation where his team can play 4-on-3. To me, that's the story of this game. He still looks completely flustered. He had, 9 turnovers in this game, which is, I believe, a career playoff high, and it stood out like a sore thumb, his inability to read against that what I would consider somewhat basic coverage. Star players are going to get trapped up high in today's NBA. And the Rockets couldn't handle it. 94 points against the vaunted Lakers defense, which deserves a hat tip. But KD not being able to handle the trap to me was the storyline of Game 1, alongside, obviously, LeBron's incredible play.
Yeah, I think there's a number of things that stood out to me during the game. We'll start with your first point. You're right. It's almost as if in the second half, he wasn't anticipating it, which is strange because, particularly when you play well in the first half, you're going to get that treatment. This is a team that is a pretty anemic three-point shooting team in terms of volume. They're not going to really shoot you out of a game because you're double teaming or running traffic at Kevin Durant or Sengun. They're not going to do that. And I think the Lakers know that. Rockets have to know that. In fact, I called Game 1 when the Lakers were committed to 3 or 4 jerseys in the paint defensively every trip, and they were going to force kickouts to the corners. And Rockets have a number of guys, not only that aren't what you would consider pure shooters, they also had been especially struggling over a stretch coming into the postseason. So you knew that's what the Lakers were going to do. And look, without Durant in Game 1, it's entirely different scenario. Their offense was just really just so poor in that game. You almost expected that. Now Durant's back and he actually plays well to start. You're thinking like, okay, now that looks like maybe what could be more of their normal offense. Then their defense becomes more important. Their rebounding becomes more important. They turn you over, like all those things, because their offense is operating at a normal level. That wasn't the case in the second half. They didn't make them pay for the double teams. Too many turnovers, too many deflections, too many times the ball gets out late. Yeah. And the spacing out of it was not good. That's something that has to be adjusted to during a timeout, get better spacing so his first pass is more readily available to him. I thought sometimes the wings were too deep. down on the sideline where it's not easy for him to see and automatically know where the ball's supposed to go. Those wings need to come up higher. And part of the reason they're not higher is because those guys are not great shooters in that first pass that's coming out. So they're sort of burying themselves down in the corner a little bit. They'd much rather have the corner three than catch the ball in the wing with space where they have to shoot that one. It's a different shot. So they didn't handle it well, bottom line. So, there were a number of things that I want to get into here, but that's just that first point you made, You're 100% right. And if that doesn't change going forward when they get to Houston, you might see the same result.
I should mention this is our FanDuel game breakdown, always presented by FanDuel. We break down the games, and when we do, it's presented by FanDuel. So, yes, 94 points in today's NBA is like just such a low number. And then you talk about the Lakers defense, which again, I tip my hat to them. And I think JJ Redick has done a great job preparing for this series. I think head coaches, a lot of times it really is about the playoffs. Regular season, you're managing a bunch of things, but playoffs, like how does your team prepared for exactly the thing you need to do to attack them? And I thought they did a great job sending doubles from different places. Like it's not that you're going to make the same rotation every single time and let a team get comfortable. They did a good job of disguising it. And to me, the flip side with Ime Udoka, the Rockets looked kind of unprepared from it. Some of this, and I think a lot of it is Kevin Durant has always struggled with this specific thing. He has just not been an elite player when teams trap, and the NBA goes more and more to trapping up high. But at the same time, to your point, not a lot of spacing and three-point shooting in their lineup. And the team just didn't seem like they had this, here's exactly how this is going to go. This is exactly how we're going to get out of it. And this is where we're going to put pressure on. It didn't feel like that at all. It almost felt like the Rockets were just bothered by it. And we're like, we have to reset. Or where do we go from here? What's everybody doing? Somebody just cut to the ball. It's like with my 9-year-olds. I'm coaching the 9-year-olds where sometimes something happens and it's like chaos. Nobody's doing the same thing. That's what it felt like watching the Rockets. And to me, this is the big question about this Houston team, and I would say about Ime as well, is how much is your emphasis on the offensive end? 101 points is a good number for a playoff game. You did a good job defensively. 94, when you have Kevin Durant on your team, Alperen Sengun to me is just absolute insanity. What's the next thing for you? I mean, I imagine we have to get to LeBron very quickly because the opposite is true of LeBron James. They're different players, but my God, what a dominant performance for the 41-year-old. 28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists.
Yes, I want to go there next, but first just tag what you just said about the Rockets and their offense. Think about it. They scored 98 points without Durant and 94 with him. Man. That doesn't make any sense. There's no logic there behind that other than a team that just clearly was not in position to make them pay for the way they were going to play defensively. And the Lakers are feeding off of it, by the way. They can see it and they can sense it. And their energy defensively is incredible. And I would not have described the Lakers at any point this year as a elite or great
vaunted
or even
defense.
A really good defensive team. You wouldn't describe them in any way like that. They were a team that at their best, and when they hit their stride there late in the year when Luka was going crazy, they're like so good offensively, it doesn't matter what kind of defensive team they are. That's how you would describe them. Just compete, though. Yes. And they've been competing at a high level because I think they sense it in the Rockets. They don't have an answer for this. So you're right about that. Now, LeBron, here's what stood out to me in this game. I'm watching the game, and I'm saying to myself, LeBron's 41. We've already been talking about all year about how nothing he's doing, just even athletically, is logical for a basketball player with the toll that this game takes on your body. And he's obviously this just incredible specimen, the way he takes care of his body to be able to do this at this age. We've seen it all year. But here's what really jumped out to me last night, Adam. He had a transition dunk in the first half. He had a transition layup in the first half. In the second half, he had a jab step blow by reverse dunk behind his head against Durant with no deterrent at the rim. He had a back cut dunk later in the game when he was overplayed at the top of the key. Here's why I bring that up. That's 4 baskets, and I might have missed one. That's 4 baskets I just described that are all related to just either running the floor or a simple jab step blow by where you're quick enough and athletic enough to get to the rim. 4 baskets like that on a night he shot 8 for 20. So imagine if he doesn't get those, like what his shooting would have been in the game, right?
Yeah.
But here's why I bring it up. Kevin Durant doesn't get any of those. Think about it. Kevin Durant gets nothing in transition. He's never running out on the wing where they throw it ahead and he goes to the rim and dunks it or lays it in. He doesn't blow by in a one-on-one and get to the rim quickly. He doesn't back cut and catch a catch a ball where he goes in for a dunk. Everything he gets is off the dribble against one or two defenders with a defense set ready to play him. And he's up there in age. He's in closer to 40 than he is 30. So you need easy baskets when you get older. And the fact that LeBron can still get them just from sheer athletic ability and running the floor at 41 blows my mind. But he has to, because if he had to operate against half-court defenses in isolation all night at his age, he'd be a much less efficient player. He finds ways to get easy baskets. Durant doesn't get anything easy. Now, if you want to call a pull-up 18-footer with a hand in his face and it looks easy as an easy shot for him, I guess you're right. That's in his wheelhouse. But you know what I'm saying? I'm talking about stuff that you're getting to the rim and there's no contest at the end. And you just did it through sheer effort, timing, cutting, running. Durant gets none of it. And LeBron was able to find probably 8-9 points, including free throws, out of just that. And so for me, that really stood out to me that LeBron is able to still find ways to do that at this age, because it's not easy to have the determination, the stamina, the willpower to want to run that hard, cut that hard, beat a guy from 30 feet off the dribble and get to the rim and dunk it with authority. It's not easy mentally. And Durant, on the other end, you don't see anything easy out of him at all. And as a result, they've been held under 100 points in 2 games.
Yeah. It really, the minutes and the fatigue thing is an important one, because we're going to talk about fatigue in some of these series, particularly the Denver Wolves one. But LeBron plays 39 minutes and is just going full go, making great reads, making great decisions, running the break, elevating at the rim. It's just so insane that a guy at this age is that to me, like some of the other stuff, guys can have a hot moment or hot stretch, but the stamina is the thing that I look at and I'm like, how do you have the stamina for this? The other thing here, sending doubles, using Kevin Durant to guard LeBron, to me is kind of an insane thing, and also trapping LeBron. Because you think about this, LeBron can make shots against you, like he'll make tough shots, but are you really afraid at this stage of LeBron's career that of the half-court step-back threes and fadeaways on the baseline? So if you trap him, you're telling him, we're not going to let you do that. The thing you should actually want him to do, you're not going to let him do that. Instead, we're going to make you read the court. He's got to read the court every single time. And they kept switching either Kevin Durant out onto him or bringing traps to him. And I'm sitting here thinking, LeBron's not going for 44 times in the series, 45 points off of jumpers and tough plays. He's going to score, but I don't think he's going to beat you that way. He's absolutely going to beat you by making the right read and putting the pressure on you. So I even thought that part of Houston's strategy was a little bit strange in this game.
Here's why I think that's such a great point. So go back to game 1. He had 8 assists in the first quarter, which is the most he's ever had in a quarter in a playoff game. And you know what? And it was all because a lot of it, some was transition, but some of it was like in the half court. A couple of times they doubled him before he had even dribbled the ball. So you want to talk about making it easy for a guy like LeBron James. He's that big. He's that strong. He puts velocity on the ball, and he hasn't already gone into his move off the dribble, where now some passes are tougher to make because of the direction you went with your dribble. They doubled him before he had dribbled. He had 8 assists, and you know what that means? DeAndre Ayton's off to a great start.
Yeah.
Now you got to deal with him all night because now he's engaged. Kennard is off to a great start. Marcus Smart, Hachimura, like all of those guys got in rhythm early in the game, and it was like an onslaught. Now, look, I even said it on the broadcast. It was amazing to me. I looked up, it was 26-24 in that game, in game 1, because of what the Lakers hit them with. They were shooting 70% at that point. They were only up 2. It was kind of a miracle to me, but it didn't matter because later on it came into play. Those guys all had their nights set up for them in the first quarter because of LeBron's facilitation. And I agree with you. Maybe there is something to be said about it. Let's see how many tough shots he can make.
Yep.
Maybe he does. Maybe he does because he's that damn good. But I think when you're going to let him see where the traffic is coming from before he's ever really even gone into his move, there's no chance you have to stop him from picking you apart. He did it in game 1. I thought, he did it to a lesser extent in game 2, but still the word I used for him going into the series, he has to control it without Luka and Austin Reeves. If he's in control and we're acknowledging that he's in control, then the Rockets are going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And through 2 games, no one has been more in control of this series than LeBron James. And when you got Sengun, you got Kevin Durant, like there are other options for who could be in control. It's been LeBron James. It's been his show through 2 games. And that's why they're up 2-0 and the Rockets are in serious trouble.
One quick point here. So then you talk about, like, in today's NBA, you could say a guy's a good defender. Well, there's very few guys that are good at every type of defense, because you can run a guy through screens. Are they good at screen navigation? Or you could try to get him on the block. Are they strong enough to hold up there? There's always, like, for almost all defenders, there's some weak point. Throwing KD on LeBron, just run him into a screen. He's 7 feet tall. It's so hard to navigate a screen when you're that tall. And all night they could just get LeBron forcing rotations, because Kevin Durant's not going to slither around the screens and be able to stay in front of him. And then Sengun, we have to just mention Sengun here, because defensively the same thing. And I don't know what Houston's thinking. He'd get switched out onto LeBron. And I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, that's a mismatch. But again, you're going to make LeBron go for 45, much more than control every aspect of the game. And every time Sengun would get out there, he'd look back and be like, somebody come help, or like he'd almost like shade to one side and say, come bring me help. And I'm sitting here thinking, why? Let LeBron ISO you. Give him some space. Let him ISO you. Yes, he's going to score, but that's not going to keep their team in rhythm. And then on the other end, Sengun, like, you look at it, he had some like good moments in this game, 20 points, 9 of 12 shooting, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. Like, that's a good stat line. And yet it still didn't feel like he could impose his will on this game. It wasn't that he was dictating it. And that's not necessarily a surprise if you watch the Rockets all year. But nonetheless, I actually think that he becomes a central figure in Game 3 going forward, which is, can he be the one that dictates what's happening in the game a lot more? Because I do think that he has an advantage and can put pressure on them in a way that they just haven't felt yet.
And the problem is, through 2 games, he's not winning the one-on-ones. He's not winning the end of possessions when he's gotten to his spot. He's not finishing like that. This is a guy that, we've given a lot of praise to.
Yeah.
Particularly like the way he played in Eurobasket, the way he played last year. This is an all-star caliber player in this league. And through 2 games, he's 15 for 39 from the field as a big man. Like he has to be better, because he's missed a number of shots in the paint with the short little jump hook, the little push shots that he likes to shoot. He hasn't gone even – how many times have you seen him in 2 games where he catches the ball at like that elbow area, he turns, squares up, and then he goes to that little lean back 1-footed shot? Like, he does that all season. He hasn't done it in this. Now, to give DeAndre Ayton credit, he's jamming him up. He's been very active. I think Ayton's played really well. We need to give the guy credit, because he gets maligned when he doesn't. He's been a factor, man. You're noticing DeAndre Ayton with his activity, but still – you're Sengun. If you're a guy that think you want to have a certain prestige and status in this league, these are the kind of moments you got to win those. You got to win those, and it's not enough to just get down there and get into your little spin move and go to a jump hook. Getting off the shot doesn't matter. Converting it does. Yeah. So he's got to be better, and I do think with what Durant is going to see on the perimeter and the way they're going to play him, the opportunities are more there for Sengun probably even than Durant. Sengun is capable of having a 25 to 30 point game, shooting over 50% from the field. And if he does that, this is going to feel different. Their offense is going to feel different. The Lakers are going to pay for the way they're extending against Durant. Sengun hasn't done that. He didn't do that in Game 1 when Durant wasn't there. When you really need him to be great, he was just okay. He was not just okay. I thought he was below average in Game 2. He needs to be better, particularly if Durant's going to draw that much attention. So I'm putting a lot of this emphasis in Game 3 on Sengun's shoulders. Go give me a 25, 30-point game and do it efficiently and be dominant, because you have the capability of doing it. Your team desperately needs it, and it's the only way, I think, to make the Lakers even revisit or question at all what their defensive strategy is going to be against Kevin Durant.
Well, we have to take our first break, Legs. I mean, I could do another 10 minutes on this series, but we have so many good ones that I just want to keep it moving so we make sure we hit all of them. So let's take our first break. I will say this. I don't think that the Rockets are out of it. It's a little weird having the game without KD and then a game with them. It almost feels like both of them are one-off games, and now you get to sort of settle in. But we got to keep it moving, because on the other side, the Blazers and the Spurs and the Sixers and the Celtics both had very interesting Game 2s that we have to talk about coming up next. Customers can bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. Turn $5 into $250 in bonus bets just for getting started. And when every possession matters in the playoffs, FanDuel makes it easy to get closer to the action. From player props to your favorite stars to all the tools you need to back them up, FanDuel puts player research right at your fingertips so you can check stats, trends, and matchups all in one place and make your picks with confidence. It's everything you need all in one app. So don't miss your shot. Head to FanDuel.com/AllCity to get started. FanDuel, play your game.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
All right, back here, segment 2. It'd mean a lot to us if you threw us a like. If you're enjoying the show and you like Legs' analysis, make sure you're subscribed. We're doing this 2 times a week with Legs, once with Jason Timp, once with Mark Stein. You always get good insight, especially this time of year. Let's go to the other series. Blazers get a win, 106-103 over the Spurs. But I have to start here with Victor Wembanyama exiting the game after just 12 minutes. Wemby, being 7'4", and the body that he has that's just so unique, there's all these types of injuries you can worry about. You know, lots of tension on joints and ligaments and these different things, but falling to the floor in a way that just looked like he couldn't help but smack his head not once but twice, clearly was concussed the moment you saw it. Sometimes you wonder, is that a concussion or not? I had no wonder about this one. It was very obvious that's what happened. It was a scary fall, Legs, to be honest with you. I thought maybe he would knock teeth out. He's all woozy. But just real quick, him going out of the game and a concussion, I think he's very likely to miss game 3. I think there's a decent chance he misses game 4. Completely changes this series.
Be surprised if you see him in game 3. Game 4, I don't know. That might be far enough out. But, yeah, the fall, I agree, man. Like, and you think, like, it's bad enough he got concussed, and that's legit. That's about as hard as you're going to see a guy slam his face off the court without bracing himself at all. And he did it. He did really. You said it bounced.
Yeah.
And when he was laying there, his eyes kind of closed, and when he sat up, he kind of motioned towards Stephon Castle to lean in, and he was saying something to him, and it literally looked like he was kind of basically saying, "Dude, like, I'm seeing stars. Like, I don't know what's going on right now." He's probably never experienced this before, and he was scared, I think. And then he finally got up, ran back to the locker room. He got lucky in a way. I know it's concussion, that's bad enough, but he fell so hard on his face, he could have fractured an orbital bone. He could have broke his jaw.
I thought his jaw was broken the way, because it was like here. It's almost like he hit the ground right there.
He could have, like, you know, it could have really changed the whole complexion of the postseason.
Yeah.
If it had been significantly worse. And we'll see how it goes. But, I mean, when they ruled him, I mean, they basically said concussion protocol and then concussion very quickly. So you're like, man, he's really back there. And he's jacked up. Like, you know, there's all sorts of symptoms that come with that.
Yeah.
Let's see, man, how he recovers. He got a couple days off before game 3. I think, like you said, that's very unlikely. And now, you know, you're playing a Portland team that really battled in game 1 and then, you know, kind of ran out of steam. San Antonio hit them with a flurry to win that game. They fought back to win this game. They don't go away easily. They're a really competitive group. Yep. They defend. They've got some vets that came through in a big way last night with playoff experience. Robert Williams and Jrue Holiday were incredible in this game. And so now, I mean, I'm not saying that they should be favored, but they believe, particularly if they're thinking we might get this team shorthanded without Wemby here in the short term, they're thinking we can go home and take control of the series.
Yep.
And so that's where they believe. Now, look, I think San Antonio's team is good enough, even without Wemby in the short term, to be able to win a game and like still be able to win this series. At some point, you're going to get him back, you would think. But there's no doubt, man, like you got to give Portland all the credit in the world for digging deep with that run at the end of this game and finding a way to win it. And they're a tough-minded group. They're not going to be easy to kill. And now you've got to go back to Portland, and they're feeling really good about their chances right now.
So the veteran aspect of this and the clutch aspect of this are important to me. And look, San Antonio, this game, I don't want to say it's a throwaway game, but it's hard to lose your best player midway through because it's not like you can prepare for it. You have game plans, you kind of envision how a game's going to go, and then all of a sudden you don't have Wemby in there. It changes everything. But this game was won in the clutch because it was back and forth, for most of the game, but it was the clutch where the Trailblazers took over. And it wasn't even Denny Avdia. He had one nice play at the end, that decel step. That was just an incredible. That's like, I don't even know if you call it deceleration. It was like a freeze. He just kind of froze on one leg.
On the lob to Williams.
On the lob to Williams, that was incredible. But you got shots, big time pressure cooker shots from Tamani Kamara, Scoot Henderson, who I really want to talk about. But Jrue Holiday, to me, as I'm watching this game, it's funny that there's very few vets, and specifically playoff vets in this series. And then you see Jrue Holiday just making these like offensive rebound plays and defensive plays, and you're like, oh yeah, this is a guy that's been here 100 times, whereas nobody else has really been here at all. So Jrue Holiday, to me, in the clutch in particular, was just such a steadying force and made all the right plays for like a 10-minute stretch.
Here's what I was thinking about watching Jrue Holiday, and it's been really the whole last couple months of the season into the postseason. It shows you how much more he had when he was in Boston that he didn't even have to show.
Yep.
Because his offense was a complete afterthought in Boston. He was still an elite defender. He's smart. He's a vet. He's tough. And every now and then you'd see him have like an important offensive game if he needed to, but they didn't need him to with what they had. Then he goes to Portland, and it's like you kind of need this out of him. They used to have Lillard, then it was Anthony Simons. And now Jrue Holiday comes in, and it's like, okay, is he just there to be a veteran, defensive-minded leader? Like, no, he's there to make big-time scoring plays when you have to have it. I thought he was incredible in this game. He was 6 for 17 overall, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like much better than that because of the timing of his pockets. Now, I'll say this. You said how hard it is like to overcome that. You lose your best player. I hear you, but here's the thing. You lost him, whatever, was that mid-second quarter? You're up 9 with 5 minutes to go. So they played the next 2 full quarters, and they controlled it. And you got De'Aaron Fox, you've got Stephon Castle, you've got Vassell, like you've got big time offensive players. You got Keldon Johnson, 9-point lead, 5 minutes to go. Even without Wemby, you should have enough to win that game, but they didn't because you're talking about a team that has got elite defenders, and they're going to make it hard for you. And at the same time, on the other end, you're wondering, can they make enough shots? And they made every one they had to. They made a couple of big threes. Kamara hit a huge 3 in the corner. Jrue Holiday hit a huge 3 at the top of the key. Holiday gets the air ball put back, the lob from Avdia to Williams. They made every play they had to make, while at the same time on the other end, that defensive pressure and force they play with was able to close that gap where San Antonio down the stretch. San Antonio scored 4 points in the last 5 minutes of the game. And that's a credit to Portland's defense more than anything.
I got to talk now about Scoot Henderson. I love this
Thank
dude,
you.
man.
That was my next one, yes.
I love this dude. I just, I like guys that play just so hard, and he's one of those guys that is just so intense. Everything he does is just like, he's one of these guys that feels like he's flexing his muscles at all times because he's just so intense and into the game. The quickness stood out. You're talking about a San Antonio team that has all these perimeter defenders with strength and athleticism, and yet they had to back off him because pressuring him wasn't working. He was getting around him so much. And then, not that he's an elite shooter, but last night he was 5 of 9 from the three-point line. If you can combine that level, like in the playoffs, athleticism, this will be a theme. Athleticism pops almost more because now you're getting everybody at full speed, and if you're super quick, it's going to stand out. I would call San Antonio's defense athletic. And yet Scoot looks so much more athletic than all of them. He's so quick, and he had the three-point shot going. And then he had one in the pressure cooker. I just was so impressed with what he did last night to get 31 points and do it the way that he did it.
So the first time I saw Portland in person was the last week of the regular season, actually against San Antonio. And there were, and I'm like, I'm watching him. He missed 52 games. He came back late in the year. He was really inefficient his first couple of years. You don't know like what ultimately is he going to be as an NBA player. I think a lot of questions were there just about his efficiency and decision-making. But in that game I called in San Antonio last week of the season, there were 2 or 3 plays in that game where I was legitimately blown away with his straight ahead acceleration.
Unbelievable.
You like when you see it right there, Adam, and he's that much quicker than really quick players. it really stands out. You're like, man, holy cow, this guy is on a different level athletically. And then he's got this edge, right? So there's an obvious comparison, and I'm not trying to say this guy's going to have the same career because it's way too early to know. He's only 22. We'll see. Man, does he have a lot of Russell Westbrook in him. He's got a lot of Russell Westbrook in him. He plays that hard. He's that athletic. He looks mad the entire time he's doing it, like he's pissed off, which I have no problem with.
No, I love it.
He occasionally is going to take a questionable shot. He's going to have a questionable turnover, just like Westbrook used to.
No,
right?
Okay.
Seriously. He's to me, that's what he reminds me of. He's full force all the time. It always looks the same with Scoot Henderson. Now, some nights, that's a 3 for 16, and that's when you're going, I don't know, man, about Scoot Henderson. But here's what's happening. He is starting to put together more nights where he is efficient. And look, 11 for 17 in a game against that defense with that much on the line where you go down 0-2, you have no shot to win this series. For him to go 11 for 17, 31 points and be that good. He also, by the way, Adam, he cares about defense. Like it matters 100%. To him to get into guys. So I'm telling you, I'm so impressed with him. He's 22. He's starting to literally right before our eyes. He is starting to find himself as an NBA player. And I think I'm really, who knows how this series ends or whatever, however the season ends. He has something major to build on going into next year, as does this team with a young player who was he third pick, whatever he was, that you weren't sure what you had. I think they're starting to become a little bit more sure about what he's going to be.
Yeah, super impressive stuff. If you're a Blazers fan, you have to love what you're seeing from him, and I agree with you. It's just it's easy to root for guys that play hard all the time. It's one of the most baseline traits for me. Like, I can't love a guy if he's inconsistent with that kind of effort. Scoot Henderson, you never have to worry about that. Legs, we have to keep moving. There's too many good games, so we have to keep going. And now we're moving on to the Sixers and the Celtics, 111-97. Who saw this one coming? Certainly not me. The Celtics get blitzed from the three-point line. 19 of 39 shooting from the 76ers. Boston goes cold, which is always the fear with a team that takes 50. 13 of 50, that's 26%. So they lost the three-point battle by a lot. But what stands out to me is the speed of VJ Edgecombe and Tyrese Maxey against a Boston Celtics defense that is, hey, we're going to guard one-on-one. We have all these defenders. We can switch everything. Just mentioned with Scoot Henderson, athleticism, even among two athletic guys, it separates in the playoffs where you could see the difference. Maxey and Edgecombe, different level of athleticism than what Boston is, than Boston, and it really stood out to me.
Did stand out. It stood out the fact that Boston is determined to pick these guys up 30, 35 feet out, and they're going to go over the top of screens, and they're going to play in a drop.
Yeah,
and because Keita, Garza, Vucevic, whoever, those guys are back literally probably in, between the foul line and top of the key. To me, it really showed itself. It was a 2-point game. After Boston made their run, you're thinking, like, oh, man, after all this, they're going to end up winning this game. Maxey hits back-to-back threes on exactly the same play. A high brush screen with no big in sight defensively, and he just pulls up for 2 practice shot, 3-point shots, makes them both. Edgecombe had a couple of those, multiple of those earlier in the game. So
did you see him wink at the camera real quick? Did you see that one where he pulls up and did a little wink?
Yeah, he's different, man. He's different. You've been watching. I'm watching him all year. Just even his interviews, he's just different. He's very mature.
Yeah,
his approach. He's not fit. Look, this guy opening night at 34 points, first game of his career in that building. Yep. So he's obviously not. The lights don't bother him. They Philadelphia. I can't even tell you how much they love him in Philadelphia, and they have all year. He's just because he's got that nerve that they love to see in a city like Philly. He's got nerve and he's got talent. And I just thought the quickness of the guards, the shot making of those two guys was the difference in the game, along with, like you said, Boston is going to have nights where you're just like, man, oh man, they're shooting like the ball's on fire. Like they're taking some threes in the first 5-6 seconds of the clock, and you're just like, man, like what's the rush? But that's how they play. And they're never going to change. And anytime they've asked Mazzulla about it, nope, this is their ideology. The math, analytics say this. And guess what? It's working for them. And a lot of people think they can get to the finals. And I think they're probably the favorite to get to the finals still. Yeah. But they're going to have games like this. What you hope is, if you're Mazzulla and the Boston fans, it doesn't surface when it's like a 2-2 series and they have one of these. Okay, it's they're up 1-0, it's 1-1, it's not the end of the world. Be a little more selective. They don't have to take as many quick forced ones as they did in this game, but it's always a threat again with this team, the way they play, to have one. They had 2 of these against the Knicks last year. It almost, it really cost them that series. So they're susceptible to it. You just hope they don't have enough of them in a series to tilt it in the direction of the other team. So give Philly all the credit in the world. Boston did contribute it with their quick shot selection. I thought Tatum's shot selection wasn't good in this game at all, and it helped Philly's defense. But that doesn't answer your question, which is they weren't able to contain Philadelphia on the other end of the floor. That to me is the bigger challenge for the Celtics, because they're not going to have a whole lot of 13 for 50 shooting nights from the three.
If they shoot a little bit better, it is a little bit more of a game in the clutch. But here's the thing. You're mentioning what I think is the key point, which is in this drop coverage, the other thing that they are doing, it's not just the pull up around, you come off the screen and you pull up because they're in a drop. It's also when you get into the paint or you cross the 3-point line, the Celtics are bringing help over. Like they're stunting over, and it lends itself to nice kickouts for a three. And I think that you're vulnerable to Maxey and Edgecombe pull-up threes off the dribble. But those are tough shots to win a game with. You're going to hit a couple. Kickouts you're going to win games with. And I just think that the Celtics can win this series if they just say, you know what? Maxey and Edgecombe getting to the foul line and elevating for jumpers over outstretched drop coverage, that's okay. We're going to outgun that. We're going to beat that. We can't give up this many kick-out threes, and that's how you give up 19 of them at 50% clip. So to me, there's kind of an easy adjustment for Boston here. Just don't overextend your help from those like the help from the wing.
No, I agreed. That will be the adjustment. I also think you have to have more situations where you jump on the right hand of both of these guys well before the screen comes and force them to their left. Now they can still make that shot. Maxey loves the shot where he's coming up the court sort of in a jog. He gets the brush screen and then he accelerates to his right hand, stops on a dime, and shoots that three going right. He can make step backs going left as well, but he prefers that right hand hard dribble off that screen where he's almost got another 5-10 feet of space before he gets to the line, stops, hits it with momentum. Edgecombe, same thing, would prefer going that direction. I think you're going to have to see a little bit more of not necessarily letting them dictate defensively, like not letting the Sixers guards dictate where they want to go. And sometimes you got to set terms with good offensive players. We have to dictate to you where we're going to let you go. And it's a mindset. It felt very reactionary on the part of the Celtics. We're reacting to everything you're doing right now, and we're not catching up to it. Sometimes good defensive teams have to dictate terms to good offensive players to limit some area of the floor. So you're not just at their mercy to go where they want. And I did feel like there was a lot of freedom of movement for both of those guys in this game. And that's something I think is going to jump out on film to Joe Mazzulla as well.
The last thing I have on this one, and if you have more, chime in, but the last thing I have is the Celtics are just a great shooting team, and they just shoot well 90% of the time throughout the regular season. In the playoffs, there's only 4 games, and you're vulnerable to this. The Celtics, according to All-NBA stats and research, says the Celtics had an 18.7 effective field goal percentage on pull-up jumpers last night. Every team runs cold every now and then, but is this like one of those things where the Celtics, this is what they do. They rarely lose with it, so why do you ever blink and adjust? But is it a thing where, hey, you're putting your entire playoff hopes in the hands of those types of shots, and maybe you have to counter when you're having nights like that where nothing's going in, or the odds say you're never going to do that 4 times out of 7?
I think that's where they lean, Adam, because I go back again. I go back a year ago to that Knicks series, and they had one of these that they gagged up a 20-point lead because they continued to take shots like they were down 20. I mean, I'll never forget that game. And they just allowed the Knicks to crawl them all the way back and win that game with a stop at the end where they don't even get a shot off in the last possession. And yet it's not even something that they're willing to like listen to any pushback on it. No, they shut it down. This is what we do. So I don't think that's going to permeate their thought process. In fact, I think they think it might be even like almost dangerous to even make it a narrative, to even talk about it. pointed out on film, hey, here we could be a little more patient here because it goes away from the way they roll, man, which is this is what we do. This is how we're always going to do it, and it's always going to be good enough. And we'll see if that's going to be the case. It should be enough to win this series, but it's going to get tougher each round. So, we'll see. Is there an adjustment? Because for me, it's all about shot quality. They could have taken 53s last night, and I wouldn't know if I just looked at the stat sheet. I would automatically go, man, 53s. No, because it's the Celtics. I would have wanted to see the tape. Now I'll tell you about shot quality.
Right.
And I thought the shot quality was not good on too many possessions. Too quick, too much traffic around on the shot. When you had opportunities to make them work a little bit harder to contain the ball off penetration, because you got two elite guys to do it, and even Derek White's pretty good at it. Pritchard's good at it. You can collapse the defense. Like, why do you want to continue to just try to get it back like all at once? And so I would want to see not just the number, what's the quality of the shots? And I didn't think the quality of their shots was good enough in the second half of this game.
I agree 100%. And on the other side of the point, the defensive coverage that they had on the other end, I thought allowed a great shot quality from the Sixers. So yes, they ran hot, but I also think they would run hot given the type of shots they were able to be generated by Maxey and Edgecombe. All right, we got to take another break, Legs. And on the other side, we have two more games still. In our last 15 minutes here, we have to talk about the Knicks and the Hawks, another great one from Monday. We have to rewind this one a couple days, and then we're going to talk about the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. I'm not hiding from that one. We have to get to that one as well on the other side. Is right around the corner, and I've got something that's going to help you mix it up from that standard Mother's Day playbook. You always go to like flowers or brunch or gift cards, things that just expire. Aura Frames is the thing that is going to have a lasting impression that your mother is absolutely going to love. What is Aura Frames? It's these digital picture frames. So it's a nice, very, very nice looking picture frame that you can hang on the wall, set on a desk, whatever. But the nice thing is it will rotate through photos. You could digitally upload photos to it so that frame can have any photo altered right from the touch of your phone. And here's what it is. Free unlimited storage. You can add as many photos and videos as you want. That's right. Even videos can play on these frames. Preload photos before it ships, which is a really cool feature. So when you order it, you can upload a couple photos so it comes in a gift box, and you can personalize a message in that gift box. So when she opens it, it'll already have the photos in there that you want to be included. The gift box is included. It's packaged in premium gift box with no price tag. You can share your photos and videos effortlessly. You download the free Aura app or text photos straight to your phone. You could be sitting on your couch, open up the app and change the photo right there and it'll appear. So if you have friends coming over for dinner and you want photos of them up or your times with them, grandma's coming into town, whatever it is, you can change it right there from your phone. And it's a top-rated app, researched #1 in the App Store on Christmas Day in 2025. Make Mother's Day special with Aura Frames. Named #1 by Wirecutter. You can save on the gift mom loves by visiting auraframes.com. And for a limited time, listeners can get $25 off their best-selling Carver matte frame with the code ALLNBA. All one word, ALLNBA. That's auraframes.com. Promo code ALLNBA. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Also want to tell you guys about Shopify. What kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? What did you want to be when you grew up? How about now? Are you thinking about starting your own business or side hustle? Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Shopify even powers the All City merch store. You can often catch myself or Legs donning merch from the All City merch store. Shopify has got you covered with website creation, product descriptions, email and social media marketing, and more. They also have AI tools designed to help you maximize sales. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. All right, Legs, let's shift gears now in our final segment and talk about the games from Monday night. Hawks, 107. Knicks, 106 in an absolute thriller. This is a game that the Knicks led for quite a bit of it. I didn't think the Hawks were going to get into it, but boy, did they close this game in an incredible way. And it was a handful of guys, but namely CJ McCollum, who's sneaky clutch, even though he missed 2 free throws at the end, it's so funny when a guy hits multiple clutch baskets down the stretch and then misses 2 free throws that could have sealed the game. It was a chaotic ending to this one, But at the end of the day, the Knicks come up short, and I think there's a couple adjustments we'll get to that the Hawks made here, specifically on the defensive end. But the Hawks go into the Garden and even this series with a 107-106 win. What's your big story from this?
Big story is the acquisition of CJ McCollum and what that means for this team. Like a guy with that kind of playoff experience who's been not just like on playoff teams. He was, a key offensive player in important series and important moments. In fact, I think a game you recall pretty well, probably, right? Wasn't it a game 7 in Denver a number of years ago when Damian Lillard had a horrible shooting night and CJ McCollum had a 30-point game on the road in a game
37
7
or something like that. But yeah,
whatever it was, right? So
and a game winner with like 30 seconds left or something. So very similar to this one.
And basically had the game-winning shots in this, had 3 of them.
Yep.
One where he just put Brunson on skates, like went right at him, crossed him over twice, shot the runner off the glass. Then he had the little floater in the lane, and then that step back going left on the baseline was the biggest one of all.
Tough shot, man.
Yeah, because look, you like their young talent. You love Jalen Johnson. You love Nickeil Alexander-Walker, right? You love Eve Dyson Daniels, like Kuminga, who, by the way, I'm sitting there watching Kuminga in that game Monday, and I'm going, wait a minute. The Warriors team, very unathletic team.
Yeah.
Have no use for that. Nah, we don't need that. Look, and I'm not saying the guy doesn't have warts. I get it.
He had a rough first game.
I understand. He didn't fit it. He didn't fit in with their system and all that. I get that. He holds the ball too long. I totally agree. All I'm saying is his athletic ability jumps off the page on the nights he gets it going. He was incredible in this game, man, with what he did in the fourth quarter to help them win the game on both ends of the floor. So my point being, you got all these young athletes and talent and all that. It doesn't matter if you don't have someone to stabilize you at the point. And that's what CJ McCollum has brought to this team. He's unfazed. He missed 5 or 6 shots in a row prior to those 3 shots he hit that basically ended the game. So he wasn't fazed by that. It's not like, he's got a short-term memory, super cool, calm and collected in that environment. To me, that stood out to me. These young guys and all the talent they have, they need something like that on the court. And I think they got the right player to navigate this for them. And they played with a lot of poise down the stretch. And the Knicks weren't able to match the playmaking. Atlanta was making the plays. The Knicks were coming up short.
We're going to go to that in 1 second, but quick one here. Can you explain to me how a guy can hit the clutch shots that CJ hit and then miss 2 free throws?
No.
I'll never understand that. That's the craziest sequence because you're like, man, CJ's the most clutch guy in the world. And then he bricks not 1, but 2.
And I'm going to not only can I understand him missing those at all. Here's the other thing. I just know as like when you have a really good game.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing game. And then you do that. And they survived it. But even though they survived it, I'm telling you right now, CJ McCollum is going to be more pissed about that than he is about the 3 shots he made to win the game and the 32 points. I'm just telling you, he's going to be pissed off about that all the way through this series, no matter how long it lasts, because it's incomprehensible to him as well that could happen. And of course, you had the whole thing with the timeout was they didn't have one, but it said they did on the screen and on the broadcast. And then so people are like, well, why did they take a timeout? They didn't have a timeout.
Right.
So Mikal Bridges got off a pretty damn good shot under those circumstances and wasn't able to get it going. It would have been cruel.
It would have been so cruel
for CJ McCollum if that had happened to the Hawks after what he did to win that game. And then he misses 2 and then that they hit the game winner. So it felt like justice almost that Atlanta won that game because of how well they played down the stretch. But yeah, no, I don't. No, to answer your question, no, I don't get it. Guy in rat kind of rhythm that's a natural scorer and then miss both of them. No, that surprised me.
It blew me away. All right, you mentioned Jonathan Kuminga, and I actually want to go back to him, but not for the reasons you mentioned. He did do a good job. I still think his shot selection is funny because he has this athleticism advantage. And there are times he doesn't know when to use it properly, in my opinion, that he'll try to go to you'll have a physical advantage. Nothing makes me more mad than when a player has a physical advantage, whether it's size or speed, and then they go to a step back or, rip through or something like this where you're like, man, you're just so much bigger and stronger. Just go into him and get a layup. He had a couple of those in this game that were bad and a couple of them were good where he's still figuring it out. But to me, he was the player of the game or the most interesting one because of the defense. He allowed them you stick him on Karl-Anthony Towns and late in the game, and all of a sudden you can't use Towns in as the screener. And this is the thing that I thought was interesting is they being the Knicks, didn't seem to know what to do with this like pick and roll. You want to go Cat Brunson. They ended up having to go to Hart, but Hart's not going to have the same like release valve ability where you can just throw it over to Towns and now Towns can get downhill or Towns can shoot the jumper. You give it to Hart and it's a little bit easier to rotate behind him because he's more limited. And it was so weird to me that the Knicks were, I don't want to say unprepared, but incapable of executing down the clutch once they made the switches that they did defensively. And, that to me is what was so interesting about this. The Hawks seemed to have a basic adjustment with who they were guarding as the screener. And then the Knicks didn't get good shots for the last 5 minutes.
Here's one thing that kind of, I'm looking at this series and it was so obvious to me last night. The biggest advantage the Knicks have in this series, without question, is Karl-Anthony Towns. The Hawks do not have anybody physically that can guard him. He had 3 offensive rebounds in the second half. They were all putbacks. He looks so much bigger and stronger than anybody that they have down there. They basically play a bunch of wings and a Kongu sometimes, but for the most part, it's just smaller guys. They're athletic, but they're not nearly as big and strong. Now, I know that he's sort of a dual threat inside out player. He doesn't spend all his time in the paint. I get it. Here's the problem, though. The stuff he was getting for himself was almost improvisational because he made it happen with his physical presence. Because they don't believe in a lot of play calls. They just want to play in the flow.
Yeah.
And this has been the frustration with Karl-Anthony Towns. He doesn't really know how to play basketball in that way. He doesn't always make the best reads and how to find open pockets and get open and use leverage and work his way into the post. So he made 3 plays on the offensive glass. He had a couple other buckets. He had a 3, but they want to just play. And that's not going to specifically target the advantage that they have with some stuff they could run. Run some cross screens across the paint to bring him into the block. Run a back screen for him from the top of the key to roll him into the post. Let him catch the ball at 10, 12 feet and watch what Atlanta has to do to adjust. Because he can take 3 dribbles and get to the rim against anybody on their team. But that's not the way the Knicks play. So he's shooting 56% in the 2 games they've played. 12 shots and 13 shots. A guy that has this kind of advantage, he should have 16 shots, 18 shots, 20 shots, and force Atlanta into foul trouble, force them to commit guys to the lane to free up open 3-point shooting. But they're committed to a certain style that's predicated on Jalen Brunson. He's going to take a lot of dribbles, get a lot of ball screens out top, and then they just want to make reads out of that. I think they're missing like a big advantage they have if they would cater a little bit more, even if it's just specifically for this series, some stuff for Karl-Anthony Towns to catch the ball in positions that puts Atlanta in a tough spot because they do not have anybody that can guard him.
I got to move on here. This last one now, Legs, just because we only have 5 minutes left. But as we're preparing for the show, you said, I'm not sure if we're going to have time for Nuggets Wolves. And I told you I have to talk about it because I know the Wolves fans will be here if we just skip it. So I want people to know. I want you Wolves fans to know.
All right.
I insisted that we don't skip this game so that I could sit here in front of everybody and say, hey, the Wolves really punched back in game 2 against Denver. And really what I'm going to say is they get the win 119-114. Denver fell into the one trap they cannot fall into against the Timberwolves. If you rewind back to 2024, the thing that sunk them in game 7 was Denver white-knuckled it after getting a lead, started to slip, and they just played Jokic and Murray the whole way through the second half, just kept them on the court, and they wore down. The same thing happened in this game, Legs. The Nuggets have a 19-point lead, and they start to slip when Jokic goes out of the game. He gets a 3-minute rest in the first half, and then they bring him back. But here's what's important. Chris Finch, I think, they have the same strategy all the time. Denver only has one ball handler, Jamal Murray, so even if he cooks you early, put pressure on him and try to wear him down so he's not there in the fourth for that deadly 2-man game. Same is true of Nikola Jokic. But they went to, like Rudy Gobert's done a great job on Jokic, we'll talk about it in a second, but they went to Randall and Naz Reid, Dante DiVincenzo, Bones Highland, Ayo Dosunmu. You're going to have 5 shooters, play 5 out, nobody in the paint, nobody inside the 3-point line, everybody out, and let's make Jokic guard in space. Denver fell into the trap because they're still up like 10 points and they put him back in and they panicked and played him early, which means he was going to play 40 minutes that night. It's a lot. Rudy Gobert's on the bench and Denver, rather than go to Nikola in those minutes and go inside, Jokic stepped into the paint 3 times in an 8-minute stretch. If you're going to play 5 out, Nikola's going to have a hard time guarding that. You're going to get good looks on that side. But the fear is Denver's going to punish you inside, draw foul, slow the game down. Nikola 3 times did his foot touch the paint in an 8-minute stretch. And as a result, a 28-10 run. And you ended up playing Nikola 40 minutes. So not only do you panic and bring him in early, Minnesota wanted that exact thing to happen. They laid a trap. They executed it. Denver fell in. And in the second half, Murray and Jokic were just completely out of gas and could not get anything going in the fourth quarter. That, to me, is the big story. To me, it's so obvious that your fear is where, like, Minnesota's game plan is to wear those two out. And Denver walked right in and said, here you go. We'll play our guys extra minutes, and we won't even go into the paint during those minutes.
So your solution and your adjustment is going to be, I'm guessing then, you want to see game 3, maybe Jokic plays 7-8 minutes in the first quarter, maybe have, 16 minutes at half.
I think so. Here's what happened.
I mean, is that what you want to do? Is it like,
no, he always plays the first quarter. Like, this is for years. He always plays the first 12 minutes.
I know that. And you're saying that you would like to see an adjustment where he doesn't?
I would play the 12 minutes in the first quarter. But here's the thing. That second unit for Denver is going to be vulnerable. And it wasn't even that bad. I think they gave up 6 points. They were up 16. It goes down to 10 in 3 minutes. And there was like a 6-point possession, basically. So it's a little bit fluky almost. You just can't panic. You can't panic there. Minnesota's going to go on a run when Jokic's not out there. But you can't get to a point where Jokic is at 36 minutes with 5 minutes to go in the game, and he's been playing for 12 straight minutes. And, you can't get to that because he was clearly Rudy Gobert's doing a great job. But both Jamal Murray and Jokic had nothing in the tank late in the game. There's no burst. All of their shots. Jokic had 2 air balls, which is very uncharacteristic for him. You just have to say, if you're going to play Nikola all those minutes, and you're going to lose them anyway, just stick with your bench. Let Nikola rest so he has some energy. Minnesota didn't even play Gobert the final 8 minutes of that stretch. I think they were sitting there going, this is exactly what we were hoping Denver would do. Bring him out here. We're going to run him in these minutes. And in the second half, Rudy's going to be there with like 11. He played like 11 minutes in the first half, completely fresh for a second half against Jokic, who was completely worn down.
Well, I think one thing I will say about Jokic, as great as he is, there are very few like star players that you've ever seen, like historically, like wear it overtly when they're gassed.
Yeah.
Like when he's gassed, like you can see he's gassed, man. Bends over a lot, deep breaths. He always gets that flush look. That's pretty much starts immediately, but like just his movements, his breathing, his bending over, like you could tell. And I definitely agree with you. You could see that on him down the stretch of this game. Look, it took, I do think this, like if you're Denver, like, okay, here you go. Minnesota did what they had to do. They got a game, right? Now you're going to change venues and now you got to go win a game to get home court back. But think about how deep Minnesota had to dig to get this game. And so if you're Denver, man, like, you gotta look at it and say, okay, we can make some adjustments and we're still going to be okay. They have to win a road game to get this thing back. If you're Minnesota right now, you're feeling like this rival. It is legitimately a rivalry, by the way. There's very few in this league. This has developed into one. And
did you see McDaniel's comments after the game?
McDaniel's just took a flamethrower to the entire thing. Okay, with what he had to say. And it's interesting about that is this. And he's a really good player. He's turned himself into a really, really good both ends of the floor player. Yeah. But at the same time, it's not like he's some offensive force. Like, so to like call out all these defenders on Denver, sometimes I look at it like you're writing checks that other guys have to cash. That's Anthony Edwards, right? That's Anthony Edwards. That's Julius Randle. That's like Naz Reid. That's even DiVincenzo to a certain extent, to Sumu. And McDaniels, look, don't get me wrong. He's a good offensive player, but I'm saying like the focus is more on Anthony Edwards. Like he's the guy that's going to get the attention from these guys. I am really curious to see what those comments do in terms of the chippiness, the edge at the start of the game, not like something at mid-second quarter, third quarter. I think you're going to see this get really chippy and testy immediately. First 6 minutes, 8 minutes. I think you're going to have some dudes jawing and squaring. I hope so, because I think that's what the playoffs are all about. I think Jaden McDaniels, absolutely. You talk about, I'm not a big believer. I always think bulletin board material is overrated. I've always thought that way. If you're a self-motivated player in person and team, who cares what somebody says on the other team? I think this actually is one of those instances where I think, because he didn't call out a guy. He called out their whole damn team by name.
Yeah. By name. Oh, by name.
He went up and down the roster. So when you do that, yes, I actually think this is one of those instances where it is going to elevate the temperature, make guys more of a target, get the best out of Denver defensively when you just emasculated their entire roster up and down by name. You don't ever see guys do that. So this was really interesting turn of events, and we'll see what it leads to going forward.
Emasculated is the right word, man, because that's exactly what it is. And here's the thing. The Wolves want a street fight. The Nuggets want to go to the octagon, meaning the Nuggets want this to be technical and smart and do these things. And the Wolves are like, yeah, we just want you to like lean your chin out so we can get a hook in there. And this is the thing. When you say, how does Denver approach it? Part of me thinks that that's what they want. Again, Denver wore out in game 2, in part because they got lured into a panic and, this or that. Yeah. And Jaden McDaniel's saying this, there's part of me that Denver has to have a sense of pride and say, we're going to get some stops. But I also think that there's a right amount of energy that has to be brought to this that I think is kind of compelling. This is the best series, man. This is a rivalry with history, with layers, with all these stories, and it's such a good one. And the last shout out I have to give, man, Anthony Edwards. So the Wolves did a great job of not playing their guys too many minutes. A lot of guys in the 20s, low 30s. Anthony Edwards goes 40. In legs, he has one leg right now. You watch him in the first game and in the first quarter of this one, he's wincing, he's reaching for you, he's limping, he's not getting explosiveness. And when this game got tough, Anthony Edwards just dug so deep. And it's not even like he had that efficient of a night, 10 of 25. He did grab 10 rebounds, which is insane. But to play 40 minutes clearly on a hurt leg and to have that much intensity and competitiveness, that's why people love Ant. Whatever you think of Ant, what we said of Scoot and those guys, this guy's just a super competitor, as tough as nails, and that was a tough performance from him.
One of our very first shows we did together, going back now at the beginning 3 years ago, we both kind of connected on this Anthony Edwards conversation because we both said what we loved about him. He has the look in his eyes of someone who's obsessed with winning and winning a title and being a great player and like being a both ends of the floor player. He doesn't run away from challenge. They don't hide him. So it's always been there. And the question was always, can he harness it smartly, like when he needs to? And he's done that better and better each year. And that's why he's emerged to one of the best players in this league. And he's playing hurt right now. And he's doing everything he can, man, to gut through it. So, yes, give him a lot of respect. I also give a lot of respect to Julius Randle, who just seems to be the only guy in the league that can go like not 24, 9, and 6 and like not really get mentioned. Like, you know what I mean? Like because people are just dying to find something they don't like about Julius Randle when he plays. Give the guy credit. This is game 2. You got to win a road game to have a chance in the series. Big moment, 24, 9, and 6, and he did it on 50% shooting. That's showing up. Yeah. That is showing up in a big way. And then the last point I want to make on this series, tell me if you agree with me. It feels like from Denver's perspective, game 3 feels like an Aaron Gordon game.
I mean, it needs to be. I'm worried about his own health. I mean, this was the story for Denver coming in.
He doesn't look right, but he's how many times has Aaron Gordon for this team in this Jokic era answered the bell when they had to have
totally.
And not only that, I don't remember. Did Jaden McDaniel say his name too? I think he did.
Yes, of course he did. Of course.
Okay, so
it's funny because he started with the obvious. He's like, Jokic, Jamal. Right. And then he's like, you know what? Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, like everybody.
He kept going. I thought at one point, I heard him say Kiki Vandeweghe, Walter Davis. Like he went up and down the history of the organization. David
They're all bums.
None of these guys could play. Yeah, I'm like, damn. So he called out Aaron Gordon too. So that's what I'm saying. And Aaron Gordon, as we know, is more than capable of having a great defensive game. He's capable of having a game where he makes 5, 6 threes. So this feels like in the moment for the Nuggets, an Aaron Gordon game. Because he also had his name called out by an opposing player. Yeah. So let's see what the response of the Nuggets is, man.
I got a lot more takes. One thing I will say, Nicole, I think it's got to be a Nikola game, a Jokic game, because he has been in game management mode, draw Rudy out, and just like kind of passing, not very aggressive. He was gassed in the fourth when they needed him, and I think, a lot is made of the Gobert versus Jokic thing. Nikola's just not been very aggressive outside of the fourth quarter when he was just so gassed. We've seen Jokic give Rudy Gobert 50 points multiple times. This game, he has to get out of game management mode and go and put pressure on the Timberwolves. Because right now, I think the Timberwolves feel great about what he's done. And I just feel like he's been in second gear for some reason. We got a couple super chats, and we got to get out of here. We went long, but how could we have not? Addy says, if you're Ime and you know teams have blitzed KD all year to great effect, how do you do nothing to plan for it? Why was there almost no off-ball movement from anyone on the team to help him beat the trap? Why did KD keep accepting the trap? We talked about this a little bit during that segment, but I mean, this is the thing, Legs. It just feels like they're so focused on the defensive side, and when you got to score more than 97 points if you're going to win in the playoffs. They
play too slow. And so let's see what the adjustment's going to be. They just need to get into their sets quicker. They don't need to have Kevin Durant. And we saw this in a game that we did earlier this year where Kevin Durant was basically trying to handle the ball up the floor the entire time they were trying to close out a game. And it's to put him off the ball, like figure out creative ways to get him his first catch in areas where he can take one dribble, rise up and shoot. You can't do that from 30 feet when you dribbled the ball over half court or you got the ball handed to you 35 feet from the basket. Get him some catches and touches where it's a little bit easier for him to be more efficient. Look, some of it's on him. You got to get up the floor quicker and get into it and be willing to go down to the baseline and come off a screen and catch the ball in a better spot and make the look different. It just looked the same possession by possession, and the Lakers were having success. So I agree. To me, zero right now, zero adjustments on the part of the Lakers. They've played harder. They've played like the ball's hopping. Guys are making shots. LeBron's been incredible. They're reading the defense. There's no adjustments there. Now they're going to wait and see what is Houston going to do, and then JJ Redick will have a counter. But right now, all of the adjustments are on the part of the Rockets, and it's really on the offensive end of the floor. What is your adjustment going to be? How different does it look in Game 3? We're going to find out a lot about their team and how deep they want to dig and how badly they want to win this series by what their offense looks like in Game 3.
All right, what's the last one we have here? My future username says, thanks to Adam and Legs for the shows. As a Wolves fan, always thought you did a great job covering strengths and weaknesses of both Nuggets and Wolves teams fairly in their matchup. Cheers. We always appreciate it, man. $10.
Well, they're mostly talking about me, but that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. We can include.
Legs didn't even want to talk about the Wolves. He said they're not worth talking about. He said they're not even. Who cares about the Wolves? We don't need to talk about them at all.
Hey, that's one of those deals. That statement right there. He only said your name because he knows you can hear him. You're sitting right there. So, if you weren't in the room right now, that would have read differently.
If you read the comments, Legs, you'd know that's not true. People enjoy saying, I like that Legs guy. I don't know about that other guy. We appreciate you guys watching, man. Thank you so much. We are back on Friday. Me and Jason Tim. These games have been so good. Legs, you're on the call tonight?
I am on the call tonight, man. This is a lot of pressure on the Detroit Pistons, without question.
Yeah. All right. Nope. We got to get out of here. We appreciate you watching. Make sure you do us a favor. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit that like button for us on the way out.
We all silly like the mayor.